We generally come across culprits who are found guilty in trial of their actions. But there is a group of serial killers who aren't guilty of their past actions, whose lack of empathy is closely related to their lack of remorse. Let us look into 4 such cases. First up is Ronnie O'Neill. He is a suspect in 2 murders in Riverview, Florida. If you believe I'm here to amuse you all, god damn it, I'm not, says O'Neill. When O'Neill gravely shot his then-girlfriend Kenyatta Barron, he was 29 years old. After that, he repeatedly struck their daughter with an axe to kill her. She had just turned 9. In addition, O'Neill stabbed their 8-year-old son before dousing the home in petrol and setting it ablaze. O'Neill was detained as he ran away from the burning home. The boy managed to flee, but not before being severely injured and having burns. The girlfriend made the initial 911 call about the event, screaming before abruptly hanging up. 8 minutes later, O'Neill made another contact. "What is your urgency?" the police demanded. O'Neill replied, "Hey, I was just attacked by some white demons inside." The authorities inquired as to what was inside. O'Neill responded, Kiki, her name is Kiki and she tried to kill me." O'Neill was given the all-clear psychologically after the arrest to defend himself in court. He cross-examined his now 11-year-old son, whom he had stabbed during the hearing, and the boy detailed everything that had taken place. "Man, it's wonderful to see you. On the night of the incident, did I harm you?" O'Neill asked his son in the courtroom. The 11-year-old boy replied, "Yes." "How did I harm you?" "I did." O'Neill inquired about him. His kid responded, "You stabbed me." O'Neill charged the prosecution with creating a false proof. He acknowledged that he killed Kenyatta Barron by saying he is playing a fraudulent damn recording of me beating Kenyatta Barron. The judge stated that this was the worst case she had ever seen after O'Neill was found guilty and given his sentence. The judge remarked, "I have seen some horrors in my life, but this is the worst case I have ever encountered." O'Neill added that he didn't feel bad about what he did. "I don't regret anything I didn't do, and I don't regret the things I accomplished," he declared. 3 life sentences total were handed to O'Neill, 90 additional years without a release. And the detective who looked after O'Neill's boy the night of the murders adopted him. Second up is Randall Moore. He could receive 3 life sentences for his offenses against Therese Ann Lynch, his ex-wife. Lynch sought a protective order against her husband after divorcing him. This led to more murders and kidnappings. Officer Todd Rowland, who is divorcing him, reacted to the cries coming from the flat and was shot and wounded as a result. Alright, Officer 303 Adam has been struck down. Suspects carrying 20 rounds warn people not to approach the door because the shooter will retaliate. One of the cops made a statement. Soon after, Moore received a call from a 911 dispatcher who listened to him describe his motivations. "I didn't want to do any of this. Sure, but I'll tell you what, all I wanted was my kid. All I cared about was getting to see my 7-month-old infant," said Moore. Moore had hand surgery not long after turning himself into Officer Rowland. Moore doesn't say a word as the judgment is announced other than a minimal nod. We, the jurors, declare the defendant guilty of first-degree murder. The defendant is found guilty of kidnapping in the first degree by the jurors. Guilty in the first degree of sexual assault. Guilty of murder attempt. The jurors concluded. Lynch's mother made a victim impact statement during Moore's sentencing. "What you did to my daughter Therese Ann Lynch was wicked, hateful, and despicable. You are now disgusting to me, deceased and rotting." After hearing what she had to say, Moore remarked, "She hated you. You are a failure." Moore swore he had no regret for what had occurred and would not accept responsibility for his actions. "I have not the slightest regret for the loss of Therese Ann Lynch," he declared. "Everything could have been avoided. You only needed to allow me to see my child. You won't ever see her again, unfortunately. But now the adjudicator shows up. If anyone wasn't aware of what an idiot you were before you started talking, they are now aware of it. I am currently limited in the amount of punishment I can administer to you by the judge. If I would, I could." For the attempted murder, Moore received a total of 3 life sentences plus 25 years. Third is Keith Ferguson. He's from Kalkaska, Michigan. He was scheduled to appear in court on 12 felony charges including murder and kidnapping. Ferguson, who was 40 at the time, and his wife Tiffany Ferguson were having a divorce fight when he abruptly started beating her, then shot her dead in front of their 4 kids. He then took the kids to Tiffany's parents' home where he shot his father-in-law to death. Ferguson fled the scene, storming a neighboring house, took the owner hostage, and then barricaded himself inside. A 7-hour standoff ended with Ferguson's capture. The attorney declared he murdered numerous people, fled, and has taken hostages. Everyone was perplexed by Ferguson's demeanor and his apparent remorse during his court appearance. He responded, "I ain't standing," when the court said, "All right, Mr. Ferguson, can I get you to stand up in there?" He rudely responded that he doesn't believe in any of this and asked the judge to place him back in his cell when the judge asked him to raise his hand at least. Tiffany's best friend makes a victim impact statement during Keith's sentencing and says she always thought he would harm his wife. "I knew you would kill her one day," she remarked. Every time she would respond, "He adores his kids too much. He won't murder me. He was devoted to them. He killed their grandpa and mother." Ferguson stated that he never wanted to see or talk to his kids again when asked about them. "You might not fit the clinical meaning of insanity," the judge retorted, "but you're inherently flawed in some way." Ferguson was sentenced to life in prison without the chance of release. He yelled, "See you in hell," as he turned to leave. This is Michael Swanson, who was 17 when he spent an hour murdering 2 people in an Iowa petrol station. The officer questioned, "Where did you shoot around the body and on the face?" "In the face," was his response. The detective asked, "Okay, why did you do it in the face?" "Why would I even kill her if all I was going to do was hurt her?" he asked. Swanson, armed with a handgun, stormed into an Elgano, Iowa petrol station and demanded cigarettes and currency from Vicky Bauman Hall, 47. Swanson shot and murdered her without thinking twice despite obeying the order. Swanson repeated the same deed in a different petrol store an hour later, murdering Sheila Myers this time. He was apprehended 60 miles from the killing after authorities linked his car to both victims at his request but still killed them. It suggested that Swanson's main motivation was homicide. What was it like for you to release the trigger? What would you feel when you pulled the trigger, according to some individuals who have said it feels powerful or like a rush? The policeman inquired. "I feel strong," Swanson remarked. Swanson was accused of 2 first-degree murders as well as 2 burglaries. All of Swanson's alleged motivations were refuted by him. "I then shot the clerk, killing her on purpose, purposefully and with premeditation. I did this to kill her," says Swanson. Swanson is now sitting emotionlessly as one of the victim's children reads a victim impact statement. "How could you do what you did to my mom and my family? I want to know if you're even sorry. Are you sorry for what you did? My mom was not completely 100% innocent, but she was also a defenseless woman when you came in with that gun. You said you did it for cigarettes and money, so no one could identify you, but I think that's a lie. You did it, as you later said, that it was so you could feel powerful." Swanson grinned and chuckled as he received his punishment. "You are a cold-blooded murderer. Young guy, a cold-blooded murderer. You pose a threat, your behavior is erratic, the remainder of your life in prison." 4 years into his term, Swanson received 2 life sentences. What punishment do you think such horrible murderers deserve?